All right, now we're gonna go on to the gold and colorless cards. So first up, we have a Johnny Unyielding. So this is 4 generic green and white for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. +2, reveal the top 3 cards of your library. Put all non-land permanent cards revealed this way onto your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. -2, exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. And then -9, put 5 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control and 5 loyalty counters on each other planeswalker you control. Wow, that's a snoozer. I mean, obviously, in limited, this is a bomb.
But, oh yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's repeatable Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah.
This card is as with all planeswalkers, ridiculous and limited.
Yeah, but this is such a boring walker.
Question is how good he'll be in constructed.
I don't think so. I think 6 mana. Oh, well, you know what? Actually, if green-white tokens makes a resurgent, the curve can be stupid. I mean, you can go Sylvan, Thraben into Sylvan, into Nissa, into Gideon, into Archangel, into Ajani, which just sounds gross.
I mean, the main problem I see with them is that while Swords to Plowshares is very good, do you really want to play a 6 mana Swords to Plowshares?
Absolutely not.
And then be left with a 2 loyalty walker afterwards?
I mean, if you
that your opponent most likely can easily deal with.
I mean, okay, yeah. I mean, that's bad. But if you're plus, I'm assuming you're gonna have a pretty decent board to protect with. I think, and then you're left with a 6 mana loyalty walker, which is pretty tough to deal with. Oh man, yeah. Just like it just is. It's just such a cookie
cutter. Another problem with his +2 is, while it hits non-land permanents, like if you're playing this guy as your top end in like a green-white weenie / token style deck, maybe, but in a control style deck, which is generally the decks you want to play big planeswalkers like this, or even a mid-range deck that's a little bit higher to the higher end, like there's going to be a lot of times where you blank. Not necessarily blank, but you may draw like 1 card at most on his +2, and those are situations where his +2 is actually not the greatest.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny Unyielding is essentially a very cookie cutter planeswalker, plus to draw, minus to kill a thing, then an ultimate. Yeah. An ultimate, by the way, which I'm not too hot about either. It's just such a win-more ultimate.
Oh yeah, the ultimate, you're basically never going to ultimate. Pork Ninja brings up a good point, is that the issue is the things it's competing in green-white at that mana cost. It's competing with Avacyn. It's competing with Gearhulk.
Avacyn is 5
and both are cheaper. Both are cheaper than him.
5 mana, yeah.
Yeah, both are 5 mana.
Curve, you know what I mean? You can curve into these cards.
Yeah, but like, Avacyn is a bad point because you can't play a second Avacyn. But Verdurous Gearhulk, sometimes you just rather play a second Verdurous Gearhulk.
No, yeah, Verdurous is going to be very, very, very rough to do.
Yeah. I mean, if your opponent didn't have removal for an 8/8 Trampler, you think they're going to have removal 12?
No.
Or if they just make 2 8/8 Tramplers, there's a lot you can do with that. I agree. I don't think a Johnny Unyielding is on the same power level. I've heard people, and very wrongly, compare this to Elspeth, because Elspeth does such a great job of protecting herself, plus her Wrath is a lot better than the single targeted removal. I mean, Swords of Plowshares is good, but this does not take over the game the same way an Elspeth does. I don't think this is anywhere near.
I think it's probably wrong to compare it to an older card. That's just like
it's. I don't know. This card is.
All I'm saying is that this card has potential. I'm not crazy about this card, but it's just like 6 mana is a ton.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think it's outclassed by too much.
I can see it being play though.
All right, next card is Dark Intimations. It is a 5 mana sorcery, 2 generic, blue, red, black, Grixis colors. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, then discards a card. You return a creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand, then draw a card. When you cast a Bolas planeswalker spell, exile Dark Intimations from your graveyard. That planeswalker enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on it.
Where's Bolas? Oh my god.
Yeah. To truly evaluate this card, we need Bolas.
I'm kind of surprised that we have a seed that so explicitly targets Bolas. I mean, we know he's coming in our deck, but it's like this legitimately from the set before. It legitimately just says Bolas. I mean, yeah.
I like that. I do like that.
Yeah, I guess it's like Iogen, but even that.
Let's look at it. Let's look at it at a limited standpoint. You're playing at turn 5. Your opponent has to sack a creature or planeswalker and then discard a card. You return a creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand and draw a card. So it's kind of like a 1/4 in a way, but it's awfully slow. And your opponent being edicted and discarding, they get to discard and sacrifice of their choice. So that's not going to be very impactful.
It's slow. Most likely the boards aren't gonna be effective.
Yeah.
To this,
I don't think it's I don't think you play it unlimited.
Sweet. It's just such a sweet card.
It's sweet in the sense that it hints at Bolas, and once we see Bolas, we'll have a true chance at evaluating this card, because it could be that all Bolas needs is another loyalty counter to ultimate or something.
Yeah,
we don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know. It could be absurd. We need Bolas to truly judge this card. But yeah, this card, you don't want to play it in limited. And in constructed, it's only good by itself in those weird control matchups, so it'd be sideboardable at best. And until we see Bolas. Yeah, it's not going to see play in constructed until Bolas comes out.
Well,
and even then,
list. You can bring it
even then, it might not see play with Bolas.
No, I mean 5 mana is a lot for sure. Ultimately, I don't think this card is that good in standard, but I think this is the kind of power that you don't see much.
I mean, one of the things with Grixis is that in Grixis you often have ways to mill yourself, or get cards in the graveyard without actually having to draw them or whatever. And Dark Intimations are cards that if they get milled or whatever, they can still get you value from the graveyard. So maybe when Bolas comes out, we'll see. But I honestly think Bolas would have to be ridiculous. Like it'd have to be able to ult right away or something, or have some powerful effect.
Hopefully.
Thanks to Dark Intimations for this card to see play. Otherwise, it's just too slow and too clunky.
Alright, next we have Hidden Stockpile. It's a white and a black for an enchantment with Revolt. At the beginning of your end step, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token, and you can pay 1, sack a creature to scry 1. This is, I think, not that good.
I honestly like this card. It's because you can get it onto the battlefield very early on, and each time something dies, you get a 1/1 to replace it. So it doesn't take long for this card to start generating its own worth and value.
I suppose
like maybe 3
enough.
servos.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 or 4 servos for it to be worth it. Plus, it has additional use where you can pay 1, sack a creature, scry. So it triggers Revolt on its own. You can sack your own servos to generate another servo, and you get to scry. So it's like a permanent Revolt trigger if you need that.
Well, so long as you have creatures. You know?
Yeah.
I guess you can go like... No, that doesn't work. Does that work? Yeah, I suppose you can go 3 mana, play this. Oh, what would you even sack? Oh, like something dies. Wait, it's a permanent. It's not even non-token. Does that mean if you sack?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that you can sack a servo to it, to help you trigger Revolt, and you're just going to get that servo back at the end of turn. I personally like the card.
Okay, you know what? That's a lot better than.
I think there's a lot you can do with it.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful actually. The fact that you can sack the servos and get them back again, pretty much. That's really.
Yeah, like in limited, it comes down early enough where it can have an effect on the game, and in constructed, you can there are other aristocrat cards, in constructed. I mean, in this standard format. So, you have Yahini, who's basically an aristocrat himself.
Right.
Yeah. So, I have good hopes for this card. Actually, I like it a lot.
Next up, we have Maverick Thopterus. So this is 3 generic for a blue and a red. It's a human artificer, 2/2 with improvise. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. So,
can I say one thing?
Yeah, what's up?
Were they afraid of printing Whirler Rogue? Reprinting that card? Because this reminds me so much of Whirler Rogue. But,
Whirler Rogue is a lot better. But,
well,
technically,
not necessarily.
Not necessarily. You can make this really cheap. But Whirler Rogue also has the ability to tap stuff down, which is its biggest strength. But Maverick Thopters by itself is 5 mana for a 2/2, but you also get 2 1/1 flyers. I'd play that, honestly. So long as I'm in those colors. You don't want to first pick this, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, this card, even if you just get 1 improvise off, it's good, but it's the part I like about the card the most is that it's good in multiples because each Maverick Thopterist you play makes the
Makes the
next
next
one better
better. I'm not.
because you're going to have more
Listen,
artifacts to improvise off of.
listen. If you got multiple Maverick Thopters, congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, it is
pretty strong.
uncommon.
It is
That's
uncommon,
true.
but it's yeah, pretty tough.
Yeah. Card's great if you can improvise well. Card is still decent even if you can't.
Yep, that's all I want.
Yep.
Alright, next we have Oath of a Giant. This is green and white for legendary enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Planeswalker spells cast one less to cast. Everybody has to calm down about this card. It's not that good. I mean, honestly, a lot of people are saying like, "Oh, you could turn this turn 2 and then play your Gideon turn 3," which yeah, that's pretty scary. But like we already have things like what's that card? Bear that taps for mana as long as you pay an energy.
Oh, you're talking about Servant of the Conduit?
Yeah, we already have stuff like that can already ramp you into turn 4 plays like Gideon. It's not
Yeah.
like this card is like bonkers, you know. I mean it does have flexibility in that it's good. It's pretty decent early and late, for the most part. You have a big board, put a +1/+1 counters on each thing, and then earlier you can cast your spells for free. Here, not free. Planeswalker spells for cheaper.
I mean, yeah, the spell has moments where it can be really strong, like it can ramp you into a turn 3 Gideon, or it can, if you have a giant board of creatures, can get you a lot of value for just being 2 mana. But there are going to be situations where if you rip this off the top of the deck in the late game, it's not that great.
No.
I don't know. We'll have to see. I do not think the card is that bad.
Yeah, but I don't think it's gonna see play. It's not good enough, I believe.
Really.
Yeah.
We'll see.
There's too much
So,
stuff in the deck, you know. I don't think
yeah.
you cut anything from it. Alright, next we have Outland Boar. This is 2 generic red and a green for a 4/4 boar. It can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less.
Card's great.
Yeah, that's good. That's really strong. It's simple, but it'll really get in for a lot of damage.
4/4 for 4. That's hard to chump block. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even jump block it for the most part. You have to block with bigger things, which is better for you. You'll be trading
Yeah.
maybe up, in fact, which is good. Yeah, good card. Okay, Renegade Rallier. So this is 1 green.
I like this card.
Oh, sorry. This is 1 generic.
I
green
like
and a
this
white.
card. I like this card. I like this
This is a
card.
good card. It's a 3/2 human warrior with Revolt. When it enters the battlefield, if a permanent you control left the battlefield, return target permanent card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, it's really good that it says target permanent. I mean, you're basically just take a land back if like worst comes to worst. And even that's not that bad either because it ramps you up.
Yep.
This is powerful. Very strong card.
And one thing I like about this card in, like, say, Modern is that if you're playing like a, I'm not sure if this card would go in like a Coco deck or not, but the fact it can you know get powerful 2-drops like Tarmogoyf or Voice of Resurgence back from the graveyard, or even Dark Confidant in like an Abzan shell.
I mean, you can.
I like this
Yeah,
card.
I mean, you can
It's
fetch
powerful.
You can fetch the Coco, which triggered Revolt. And now you have a Coco, which is 2 bodies, but now you also get another one from your grave, which is really strong. I mean, your ghosts are going to die. They're always going to die, for the most part. And then you can just bring it back for your opponent to kill again.
There is a saying: if your Goyf isn't dying, your opponent is.
Alright, next we have Renegade Wheelsmith. This is a 1 generic, a red and a white for a dwarf pilot. It's a 3/2. Whenever it becomes tapped, target creature can't block this turn.
Great card.
These uncommons are very powerful. So long as you are in these colors, these are snap picks.
What I like about this card, it's good both when attacking as a 3/2 that makes it so your opponent can't block with a specific creature, but also good as a pilot. You can crew a vehicle, and just because it's tapped, a creature tapped when crewing, now a creature can't block your vehicle.
Yeah, this plays really well.
This
in the
card is
Boros
good.
list. You know,
Yeah.
crew something, and then your opponent's just like, oh no, I can't block, and it's like that's the end of it.
Pork
card.
Ninja brought up a horrifying thought that the last card, Renegade Rallier, brings back Thopter.
Thopter. Which Thopter? What Thopter?
The Thopter Copter.
Thopter Copter. Yep. It was
Smuggler's
the Thopter
Copter, yeah.
Copter.
Because it's target permanent,
Thopter.
so it doesn't have to be a creature. Yeah.
Looter Scooter, Thopter Copter. I hate that card.
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
Yep, I like Renegade Will Smith. That card is strong.
So next we have Rogue Refiner. It's one generic green and a blue for a 3/2 human row. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card and you get green. Sorry, energy. That's good. I'm really looking forward to this card. I
Yeah.
mean, in limited, it's fine. It's a 3/2 body that draws your card and gets your energy, which you're gonna want anyways. In Simic colors, especially, there's a lot of energy stuff. But I kind of want to try this out in my Aether Revolt deck because the curve is decent. You go the tune into the dork, into this. You got 6 mana. 6 energy perfectly, and you get a draw, which is really strong.
Yeah. We'll have to see. I mean, I like the sound of that. I'm not an Aetherworks player myself, so I'm not entirely sure, but it looks good.
I mean, you can run into awkward situations where you're playing a tune and I keep forgetting the name of the dork. And then you only end up with 4 energy. Yeah, you can
Yep.
play a puzzle knot, get your 3 energy, 3 life. But then you're like in an awkward spot where like you spent only 2 mana, even though you had 3. So it's like I like this as a curve, like smoother.
Yeah. And I'm kind of thinking of like those emerge decks that are still around. This card's great in emerge style decks.
True, that's good too. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Next we have Spire Patrol. This is 2 generic white and a blue for a 3/2 human soldier that flies. When it enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature does not untap during its controller's next untap step. I mean, once again, this is a very, very good multicolored uncommon. If you are in these colors, you will absolutely pick this card.
Yep.
Very powerful.
This card is similar to Lave Sky Knight from Ravnica, and that card dominated limited when it was around.
Yep.
This is, of course, 1 mana more, and you get 1 extra toughness. And its effect isn't quite the same as Detain, but this is similar, and I think, this card's great.
And in the Azorius decks, they're primarily focused on flickering, so there's a lot of potential for you to get this effect multiple times and just beating it with your flyers.
I guess one issue, though, is that, you stop them from crewing. They can still activate abilities, I suppose, but that's very minor. Yeah, this card's great. It's about the same power level as Aive Sky Knight. Okay. Yeah, Pork Ninja brought up Blue-White Panharmonicon. That seems pretty brutal if you get 2 triggers.
Too, yeah, still not 100% on that Panharmonicon list. We'll see where it goes.
Well, if they keep printing more, maybe. One thing I do like seeing is, it's obviously not top tier, but Panharmonicon in Modern with Grey Merchant of Asphodel. That deck is hilarious. That's
brutal.
Just drain your opponent for like 15 so many times.
Ooh, that's dead basically in Modern, honestly.
Yeah.
Shock, stuff like that. Alright, so next up we have our second walker of the set. So this is Tezzeret the Schemer. This is 2 generic, a blue and a black for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. You can +1 to create a colorless artifact token named Ethereum Cell with tap to sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Target creature gets +X/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts you control, and you get an emblem with at the beginning of your combat on your turn, target artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 5/5.
This is a big card to take in.
Yeah. When it was revealed, I kept reading it and nothing really jumped out to me as amazing. The great thing about this card, though, is that a 4-mana walker that starts with 5 loyalty. That can be pretty difficult.
And you can get to 6.
Yep.
His ultimate really can end the game in the long run. I agree with Pork Ninja. I think people are sleeping on this card. I don't know if it'll have impact right away, but one thing I really like about this guy is that when Bolas comes out, we can assume Bolas is going to be a high mana cost walker, plus he'll most likely be in Grixis, and his +1 helps with that. I think that's an important thing to keep notice of.
It's just awkward. I don't want to be in Dimir colors and tapping out. So
the cells trigger Revolt when you sacrifice them for mana. And he can protect himself. His -2 can be very powerful.
I mean,
and you can -2 twice without him dying.
Yeah. I mean, there isn't really an artifact deck right now in Standard, though. And I don't know how much
right now,
Revolt, I don't know how much Aether Revolt is going to change that.
We'll see.
Yeah, it's possible.
I think this card is deceptively good.
Alright, next we have Tezzeret's Touch. This is 1 generic, a blue and a black for enchant artifact. Enchanted artifact is a creature with base power and toughness 5/5, in addition to its other types. When enchanted artifact is put into a graveyard, return that card to its owner's hand.
Some people say this is like in Soul Artifact, but this is not in Soul Artifact.
I mean,
Yes, you
yeah.
can put it on like vehicles. It's great because the vehicles you put it on, they don't have to be crewed because they become a creature, um, which is nice. Like you can put it on like a looter scooter or whatever. And it does protect itself, from being 2-for-1. However, one of the reasons in Soul Artifact was so good is because it was in the same format as Darksteel Citadel. You had Darksteel Citadel in,
2 mana
was it
5
M15
5
or M14? One of the
M15.
two.
I think.
Yeah, it was M15.
2 mana 5 5 indestructible. Pretty good.
Yep.
I think this card's pretty decent. It solves one of the biggest flaws of artifacts. I mean, enchantments in that when they go away, you get pretty blown out. But this one brings
Yeah.
back the artifact when it dies, which is
One
nice.
of the things I do like about this card is that you can go turn 2 Smuggler's Copter, then play Tezzeret's Touch, turn 3, get a 5/5 Looter Scooter. It'll still have the Rummage ability.
Yep.
And that's powerful. Yeah, you can put it on any
Actually,
vehicle.
Looter Scooter is a loot, not a rummage, which is even better.
Or sorry, Loot. Yeah, that's Looter. Yeah. It's hard to say. I mean, I do like that second clause that you get your artifact back.
I mean, it's just odd because like the mirror is kind of not the colors you want this effect. I think there's no.
We can see.
Yeah, we'll see what Aether Revolt changes the standard. But like right now, there's no shell. Like we've mentioned before of other cards, there's just no shell right now for these cards.
Yeah. I mean, like we mentioned with Tezzeret earlier, you can turn basically a mana rock into a 5/5 with this. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
You have a steady stream of artifacts to latch onto. We'll see. I mean, the card has the power. It is not in Soul Artifact, though. I want people to know that. We'll see.
Alright, next up we have World Fast Engineers. One generic, a black and a red. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target artifact creature you control gets +2/+1 on the turn. It's a 3/3.
Card's great.
Oh, it's gonna make the Rakdos list brutal.
Yeah, I think like the Rakdos vehicle lists or the Rakdos like Mardu decks. Like when you can get like Scrap Heap Scrounger, get the buff onto that, a card your opponent doesn't really want to dedicate removal to. That Scrap Heap Scrounger is now swinging as a 5/2. And that's a very reasonable clock. Like you don't have to be attacking with Weldfast Engineer. In fact, Weldfast Engineer is also a great pilot because you can
True.
attack. I mean, you can crew with Weldfast, give the artifact you're attacking with the +2 buff. Yeah, I like this card a lot.
Alright, next we have Winding Constrictor. This is a black and a green for a 2/3 creature snake. If one or more counters will be placed on an artifact or creature you control, that many of those counters +1 are placed on that permanent instead. And if you could get one or more counters, you get that many of those counters +1 instead. Oh man, this is reminds me a lot of Hardened Scales on a creature.
Yeah.
This is very good.
Yeah, this card's great. 2 mana, 2/3 is amazing, right? Too.
I'm definitely gonna play this in my Traxa deck for sure. That's fun. Or redundancy as well. More Hardened Scales. Yeah, this is very strong card. Oh, affects energy as well. If you don't have any +1/+1 counters on the board, if you have energy, you can
Yeah, and in Commander, good thing you brought that up. It affects experience counters.
yeah. If you got an experienced commander.
So if you're playing Marin, this card's great in Marin.